Okay, year 8, so we're back after a little break whilst the teacher went from part A to part B. Okay, so we're just kind of getting ourselves familiar with these changes over time. Okay, so the three sort of things you might have written down there. Okay, as I'm looking across the room, I can imagine my lovely Ebony sat at the front smiling. She's probably got down that maybe that William the Conqueror invaded England in 1066. Next to her, lovely Imogen might have written down that the French became the language of the ruling classes. And I'm just thinking, then we've got Kelly and James. They might have written down that, for example, the lower classes spoke English, upper classes spoke French. And then I'm sure at the back, Max and Malachi are desperate to put their hand up and tell us that in 14th century in the 14th century English became dominant in Britain again. So remember, you only needed 3 key takeaways from this page. Okay, so what are we going to think about next? Right, well, how things change. So you remember the old English one looked really strange. How is this looking better? Is this extract looking more discernible? Can we work out what this one is? Let's have a look. I'm going to do my best middly English for you. Our Fadia, pat art in headmans, hallowed be ye name, P kingdom come to, be P will done as in heaven, and in earth give to us this day our bread, our upper substance, and forgive to us our debts, as and we forgiven to our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Ooh. Now, any more words becoming recognizable? So, in a minute, I'm going to ask Miss, sorry, it's terrible, isn't it, assuming that there's a Miss in there with you. I'm going to ask Miss/Sir to pause the screen and give you a chance. Now, we know we are sat mainly in pairs, and it's quite difficult to be able to turn around in 4 groups. So if you are sat by yourself, it might just be that you just think for yourself for a minute rather than try and create a turning around situation. But are there any words here that you might recognize? Now, Josiah might recognize something even more about the words. There might be something about this that's familiar. Okay, this is a very, very, very important, famous, might be the wrong word, but well-known text. So as I read it once more, you might want to write down any words that you recognize. Now, even though they might look different on the screen, we often speak using something called phonetics, whereby the sound of words helps us. So are you ready for the Middle English? So, our Fadia, part art in heaven, hallowed be P name, P kingdom come to, be P will done as in heaven and in earth. Give to us this day our bread, over upper substance, and forgive to us our debts, as and we forgiven to our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Now, what words did we recognize? Were any more familiar to you? Just see if you can list any down, and then we'll see what the class has come up with. Okay, so if Miss allowed you a chance to pause there. So what do we recognize? Let's look at that first line. Did anybody get the very opening word? Ah, our Father, our Fadia. Oh, I gave too much away. So maybe you might have recognized the word the word forgiven, the word forgive. Temptation, you might have worked out, is temptation. But is but. Not is not. Into is into. So you can see all these emerging words. We've still got and we've still got us from Old English. So we've kept those. Some words are keepers. Some words we've changed. Now, just because we were talking about the French influence, that word temptation there is from the French. Brilliant. So can we see how slowly over time from the Old to the Middle English, the English absolutely at first glance might seem like, whoa, I don't understand a word of it. But actually, when we slow down and hear it, we begin to recognize it more than we realize. Brilliant. And can anybody know where this is from? What this really famous text is? If you can, maybe tell teacher now. But what could this text be? Well, here's the answer. Here's the modern English version. Now, we say modern English was from the 1500s on. Now, let's be honest. 1500s to 2020, that's still a huge chunk of time that's being considered here as modern English. But one of the biggest things that happened with modern English is people decided to write things down, to try and create a list of rules and order. Remember Samuel Johnson in his dictionary? That was part of this process of creating rules to govern English, and those rules have stayed in place. So if we look at this one in the modern English, in other words, from the 1500s, actually there's an awful lot there that's familiar. There are still a few anomalies. Now, an anomaly is something that has disappeared, something that stands out. But here we go. Our Father, both of those words we use today. Thumbs up for those. Which, absolutely, we still use that. Art in heaven. Okay, I'm not going to lie. We talk about an art class. That's not what this art is here. Our Father, which art? So it's the old version of art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Okay, let's deal with the thys in the buildings. All these thys, we have simplified our language. Now, can you think what we would replace thy with? If we were real modern, all the way up to modern, it would become something like your. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done. So thy was part of an old pronoun system that we've simplified down. So we only use you or your. In the 1500s, we had much more variation. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. All of those words we still use past that point. Give us this day our daily bread. Ching, 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 tick, tick, tick. Yes, we do. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. We use all of this language today. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. So actually, with the exceptions of art and the thys and the thine, this is perfectly modern. Okay, so we see the English goes through old to middle to modern English in quite quick steps. Okay, it's not quick, is it? We're talking thousands of years. But sometimes change is quicker than we realize. And we know when we look at real modern change, that goes super duper fast. So guys, just as we come to an end today, okay, we've got 3 texts here. Which of these texts would you say is old, middle, or modern English? So just going to let them just stay in front of you. You might need to point or tell Miss with your finger. So which of these texts were written in old, middle, or modern English? Brilliant. Now, this is the first time, so this is my like end of lesson disclaimer, that we've worked this way. So if that's taken too long, your lovely teacher would have paused it and said it's okay to go. We're not going to keep you in the class till it's ended. If, however, this has been too quick, this could be an opportunity to look together as a class and see if all the activities have been completed or whether we need to return and give any more time to tasks that we've done. So guys, tomorrow's lesson will also be recorded for you, and we'll bring that into play later. Thank you for listening.